Shana Tova. This past summer, my family sat together in an airplane row when turbulence hit. First, the fasten seatbelt light came on. Then we felt some bumps, then some more. This was bad. Like, is this really happening bad? Shwa and I each took Stevie's hands as the airplane bounced us up and down in our seats. And as my stomach started to feel queasy, and I started to feel more and more scared, I held on tighter. I don't like this, I said out loud. I'm scared, I said louder, looking at Shwa. He looked at me and smiled. What a fun ride, he said to Stevie. And then I burst into tears. And I cried through the storm as we jerked around the cabin until the turbulence calmed down. Stevie looked at me. You crying, Mommy? Yes. You know, like bumpy? No, I don't. Oh, she said, thinking for a moment, and looked over at her dad, who stayed calm for her in a scary moment. I like bumpy. The world has been a bumpy place. And even though we're still taking vacations and celebrating personal milestones like bar mitzvah, graduations, weddings, the backdrop of our world sits over us like a storm cloud, always tempting us with turbulence. You may be thrown by mean-spirited rhetoric on social media or by fear about the future of our democracy. You may still be reeling from bans on abortions that have harmed women's bodies, anti-Semitism, or from bigoted lawmakers stripping away trans rights. Our brains and bodies are truly on overload. And yes, we've pivoted and protested, but it is exhausting. Around every corner, a new crisis feels like it's just waiting for our response. It's well-orchestrated, intentional chaos. This chaos has a real impact on the ways we are able to show up for our families, our communities, even just for ourselves. A stressful environment can trigger a cascade of stress hormones that produce full body physiological changes, called the fight or flight response. Our bodies evolved with survival mechanisms to react quickly to life-threatening situations. Unfortunately, the body can also overreact to stressors that are not life-threatening, such as traffic jams, work pressure, and family difficulties. I often feel like I'm in fight or flight mode. While I'm grateful every day to serve this community in my role, I also sometimes have 4 nights a week away from home. I'm not the one who puts my daughter to bed at night. Dishes overflow in the sink and laundry piles all over the house. Neglected friends wait for me to return their calls, and my husband often has to schedule our family time around other commitments. You can feel the anxiety and stress around me. Any one email or extra errand or even social invitation can sometimes feel like it's just too much to handle. And I know I'm not alone, but I also hate that this lifestyle is so normalized for so many of us. In a storm of turbulence, we are asked to continue our lives as if everything is status quo. Dr. Becky Kennedy, child psychologist, takes the fight or flight analogy seriously. She asks us to imagine being on an airplane, going through strong turbulence, and feeling very scared. Everyone on the plane starts freaking out, so the pilot starts speaking. Here are 2 different announcements they might make. Announcement 1. I can't do the voice. All your nervousness is throwing me off. You're making it very hard to do my job. Maybe this flight was a bad idea. Maybe we should land or still fly. I don't know. Maybe one of you can come up here and decide what we should do. Or announcement 2. Shh. We are going through turbulence. I know you're scared. That's okay. I know what I'm doing. I'm not scared of this turbulence, and I'm not scared by your fear. We are still set to arrive on time in the same city we set out for. Of course, we would feel secure with announcement 2 and start freaking out more with announcement 1. In times when things are challenging, we need to find the calm in the storm. Our Torah begins with chaos. Before a single word of creation is spoken, God hovers over the chaos, then ponders over it, and then begins to create, bringing light, sky, land, and life from that very chaos. We read in Genesis, "The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters." Scholars note that this unique Hebrew term for unformed and void, tohu vavohu, only appears in this story of creation to describe primordial chaos. And it doesn't last long. God immediately needs to split and separate, divide and prescribe in order to create a world that has order, or at least some semblance of it. God needs to calm the chaos. Edwin Friedman, both a rabbi and a family systems therapist, coined the term non-anxious presence. It describes exactly the person who is able to stay calm in the storm of anxiety or disorder surrounding them. A non-anxious presence can separate themselves from a situation while still remaining inside of it. They can have compassion for others who are feeling overwhelmed, but maintain a peaceful presence. They are the person who is not swayed by everyone else's panic, but instead offers clarity and steadiness. What an aspirational idea. Certainly not me. What pushes your chaos to the limit? For some, it's the reaction to each new headline of the morning paper. For others, it's the overwhelm of a messy home or the endless chores that await there. For others, it is the meetings at work or the tasks that need completing, or the schedules of school, soccer, bedtime. For some, it's trying to navigate the maze of our insurance or medical systems while caring for loved ones or ourselves. For my family, it was a sudden heart attack. Shua had been feeling tired at work, and his typical workout at the PJCC felt insurmountable. Later that night, when he complained of a heavy chest and numbness in his arm, we knew we should go to the ER right away. And as soon as he arrived, doctors confirmed, yes, this was a heart attack, and he was whisked away for emergency stent and angioplasty. 43 years old, an avid runner, a pescatarian, an almost fatal heart attack wasn't part of the plan. In the waiting room that night, I was again very anxious, just as I had been on the plane ride with Stevie. But how could I be calm? I'm human, after all, and my mind went to the worst of outcomes. Where do we find the strength to be a non-anxious presence amidst the chaos? The answer is we need to tell ourselves a different story. Stories that anchor us in a sea of uncertainty. A new story is the way we can understand tohu vavohu, the original chaos of the world. Perhaps tohu vavohu is not the chaotic, but the creative. What if the goal is not to banish chaos, but to create from it, as God did? Professor James Diamond puts it, chaos itself is what provokes the divine creative impulse. Creation emerges not in spite of chaos, but from within it. In a time of chaos, Judaism offers us a moral frame that recognizes the mess of tohu vavohu around us and says, create something new from it. In her new book, No Straight Road Takes You There, Rebecca Solnit writes that changing the story, dismantling the stories that trap us and finding stories adequate to our realities are foundational to finding our powers and possibilities. So when the overwhelm threatens to paralyze, it is a wake-up call to take stock of what is real for us in that moment, name it, and then rewrite it. Schwa's heart attack rearranged my entire family's life. It was a wake-up call that meant more than just cutting out fried foods. I had to take a deep look at our priorities, our routines, and the way our time was organized, and write it differently than it was before. First, I had to learn how to cook. My parents ordered us one of those subscription boxes, which helped me start, because with a busy evening schedule, we ate so many thrown-together meals or just ordered in. Now I prioritize time to look at recipes, buy ingredients, and cook when I get home or even days in advance. It's not something we can let slide into old routines. I do more bedtimes with Stevie and more school pickups. I have to prioritize my work time differently to be available for her at the times that she needs me. But what I used to think I didn't have time to do now allows me to unwind after a long day. Schwa took a leave of absence from his work so he could focus on cardiac rehab, therapy, and doctor's visits. Our family prioritized anything that meant less stress and more time over salary. And there were positive trade-offs. From the unexpected chaos was a calm and meaningful family routine that brought us together over home-cooked meals, outdoor activities, and a recognition that time together is worth more than other things we had been prioritizing. It brought calm in a way we hadn't anticipated. As a family, we became more patient with one another and articulated our values more clearly. We were writing a new story, expressing what's important to us. And we can rewrite our response to chaos. Yes, I cried on the airplane, I panicked in the emergency room, but I can tell myself the story of a non-anxious presence. It's just about reminding myself that I don't have to be thrown by the turbulence. I can be the pilot. And I can do this through trying to stay calm, seeing a situation with clarity, and finding courage. What is it that you need to stay calm when the world is throwing you around like a ping pong ball? I believe in the practice of prayer, to have moments of self-reflection and quiet, so I can think and connect with a greater purpose. The Hebrew word for prayer, tefillah, comes from the root palel, to examine. This suggests that prayer is a self-examination, helping to ground us. The practice of prayer can teach us to take a pause before reacting to something. And even in the moments when prayer is challenging, I notice that just making time to hear music or even sit in silence can offer the calm I need to be more clear-headed. How lucky are we that we have Shabbat each week to focus on slowing down, resting, and prayer. If life feels like we are just crossing off tasks from a to-do list, we are missing the creative energy that God offers us in a model of the creation of the world. Finding clarity is writing the personal priorities for your life. It means saying no to commitments that aren't mission essential. It could look like serving dinner on compostable plates, carving out time for a walk each afternoon, or responding to an email tomorrow and not at 10 p.m. What do you want to prioritize this year? Is it your health? Is it committing to a justice issue close to your heart? Is it spending time with family? Articulating your clear priority will help you to make the decisions to be the pilot of your own life. Just as God ordered the chaos by tasks and days, ask yourself, what are the things you need to work on first? And finally, this all takes courage. This sermon is not an excuse to disengage with our world, but we also can't put out every fire at once. Remaining level-headed is actually about finding the courage to care for certain things deeply and letting go of things over which we can't have an impact. We can't let our output become frantic energy that doesn't accomplish change. We must channel our work as clearly as possible. To do this, we must anchor ourselves in Jewish values. Where does Jewish tradition inspire you? Is it attending more Shabbat? Or perhaps protecting reproductive rights with Rob Faith Tzedek? Or maybe you're able to build allyships through our interfaith friendship work. Maybe it's strengthening our community relationships through engagement opportunities or through our ed programs, or further educating yourself about Israel in challenging times. Whatever it is, there is so much good work happening at PTBE, and we can be a way you channel your positive energy. As Mordecai once said to Esther, perhaps you have come to this position for just a time such as this. Courage means seizing the moment, especially when it's challenging. Our task this Rosh Hashanah is to cultivate calm, courage, and clarity in a time of chaos. While we stay engaged with our world, we have limited responses to everything that overwhelms us, scares us, or angers us. We must not live as prisoners to chaos, but rather as pilots with purpose. Rosh Hashanah is our chance to begin again. Just as God faced the chaos and brought forth light, so too can we face the turbulence around us without being consumed by it. We can each find our own creative impulse to change our response to the stress around us. We can choose not to amplify the fear, but instead to share calm and hope by being present for one another in all we are. The world is bumpy right now, but maybe the real work of this new year is learning together to like bumpy. Shana Tova.